All right, beauties, here is an overview of the highlighters. And again, my goal is to just keep things that I really love and things that I know I'm going to use up. I definitely have a minimalistic collection, so let's dive in. All right, I think I can start with the two that I know for sure that I can go ahead and declutter solely because they are, well, they're getting old, y'all. These are the Becca Ignite liquid highlighters, and they are gorgeous. They're beautiful, they're intense, they are incredibly high shine, but I've had these for quite some time, so I'm actually going to toss these. And y'all know I give this spiel every single time. And also I'm not really into these too much anymore, but I give the spiel each and every single time that I do a declutter, that if at any time the texture, the consistency, the color, and most importantly, and most noticeably as well, the scent. If at any time the scent has changed, especially with skincare, with makeup products, please toss it. I know we invest money in our products. Sorry, I'm wiping the swatch off. I know we invest money in skincare, makeup, things like that. But at the end of the day, you guys, it is chemicals. We are putting chemicals on our skin. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter both of these. Kind of along that same line, I have the Made by Mitchell Blush Highlight in Champagne Spray. And I also have the Say. I don't feel like I need both. So I think I'm going to keep the Say one. It's a little bit lighter on the skin and a little bit more kind of sheer, a little thinner. And it doesn't give kind of versus like this one right here, how it was like super opaque, super intense. This is like a whisper. This is just like a whisper of just like a sheeny quality. It looks really beautiful underneath makeup. I like to honestly just put this in with my moisturizer. I feel like I have the preference for that over this. The blush one also is incredibly beautiful, but I don't really like the color as much. And again, it's just a little too much, if you will. Now look, if I wanted to glow from here to outer space, y'all, that's perfect. And it's not a bad formula or anything like that. It's just, it's not exactly what I'm looking for in my highlighters. So this can go, I'll keep the Say. Next up, one that I know for sure I'm going to be keeping is the Lunar Beauty, the Moon Shroom Highlighting Quad. And I think this is so incredibly beautiful. I think you can probably kind of see just how sparkly it is. I like that there are different shade variations here so that it can be, so that it's a little bit more universal and a little bit more inclusive. You can see incredibly high shine. But the way that these lay on the skin is perfection. I do have dry textured skin, and I'm gonna say right now, not all highlighter is created equal. Now, if you don't like the little kind of, you know, fine sparkle that's in there, these are definitely not for you. And they're not my preference in regard to like, they're not my everyday. I will show you the ones and kind of the texture and finish that I prefer. But really, really beautiful. They blend out incredibly well. They look gorgeous on the skin, you guys. And they last a long time, so keeping. Next up is the Tarte Maracuja Juicy Glow. And I think I got this in like an IPSY or a Boxy Charm. I've actually used the heck out of this. This is more my speed as far as the finish of it and how it looks on the skin. You can see that it kind of shears out and it just looks like glass. It's this beautiful kind of lit from within gossamer finish versus something like the Lunar Beauty that's a little bit more sparkly. And then, you know, not like the Becca that is like super opaque and just kind of a lot. So definitely gonna hold on to this one. Next up, another Holy Grail product. I love, 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 love this. This is the Flexatarian Super Shock Highlighter. And hopefully you can tell that I've used it a ton. And I am more of, I like a kind of nudie champagne slash a more neutrally gold type of highlight. That's kind of my preference. But you can see this is incredibly high shine. It sets on the skin really, really well. And that's something too, I don't know that I'm going to declutter like a ton because highlighters for me, you guys, they are so hit and miss because they will accentuate the hell out of my texture. I mean, you know, obviously they're highlighters. They're going to highlight things. And this does not do that. It just sits on the skin in this most beautiful way. It's like glass. It's this beautiful ethereal glow. I love it. So definitely keeping that. Next up is newer to my collection and a little bit newer to Sephora. It's the Sephora Colorful Luminizer. This is Sparkling Honey. And this has kind of that more firm, kind of baked type texture. If you're familiar with like the old school Anastasia Beverly Hills one, oh my gosh, I loved that one. It was so beautiful. This one leans a little bit more pinky, and it also kind of has little tiny flecks or very, very small like mica or particles in there, kind of like the Lunar Beauty one. Now that I'm looking at this, I know already, just kind of looking at what I have, I do also have a couple face palettes that have more like pinky-ish tones. I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. It's fantastic though, so if you are on the hunt for one that's not super pricey, this is fabulous. Next up, a pink one that I know I'm gonna be holding on to is the Benefit Cookie Highlighter. Also an old school favorite, and I've used a ton of this. This is another one that obviously leans a little bit more pinky, but it's incredibly high shine. But when it goes on the skin, it smooths out and you can see it's not chunky, it's not flaky or anything like that. And it just looks beautiful on my skin. Definitely holding on to this one. Next, I think I'll go into the Fenty Beauty ones. This one right here is never going anywhere. It's just phenomenal. It is an all around phenomenal product. It's the Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb in How Many Carats? Sorry if I'm blinding you guys. And again, I've used a ton of this. When I first got this as a highlighter, I did not like it. I'm usually not somebody that likes the glitter or the sparkle or whatever, but the way that this looks, I'm gonna keep it kind of fully opaque. You can see just how dazzling that is. Glimmery, shimmery, incredibly high shine, beautiful sparkle to it. And it looks beautiful as an eyeshadow. I use it consistently as an eyeshadow topper. It looks beautiful on top of anything. Or throw something neutral in your crease and put this all over. My gosh, is it heavenly, you guys. But the thing that I love the most about this is, as you kind of manipulate it, and I apply it with a little bit more firm brush, the kind of base of it just really disappears and you're left with just... I cannot explain it. It looks like a sparkling sky. And again, it's not always my preference, but sometimes I do like that as a highlighter. I more so, again, use it for, you know, my eyeshadow. But if you're on the hunt for something like this, I feel like it's pretty universal. I think you can use it on your lips, on your eyes, as highlight. It's stunning, you guys. It's stunning. So definitely holding on to that one. Next up is the Fenty Beauty Hustler Baby Highlighter. I feel like because I have a few like over here that are the same tone and they're not always the shades that I use, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter, but you can see again, just beautiful high shine, slightly more opaque, if you will. And it's got a more, thick is definitely not the word, but where some of the other ones kind of sheer out and it just looks like wet skin, like you can kind of see this, if you will, but I don't need it. I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. And then last up from the Fenty ones is the Killawatt Highlighter in Afternoon Snack and Mo Honey. I do also want to say too, like I love the packaging here. I think I'm gonna put this in the maybe pile just for now because I know that I have kind of these more deeper, like more summertime friendly, if you will, shades probably in other palettes and stuff, and I don't get a whole lot of use out of this because it is more of like my summertime shades, but really stunning here. This one has a little bit more of that, like, you know, sparkle and fleck to it. As you can see, this one kind of gets a little bit more smooth. I feel like I can let it go. I'm gonna go ahead and let it go. It is beautiful. I really do love it, but I have enough, and I'm really trying to keep things that I know I'm gonna use consistently. Next up is the JOUER Molten Glow Highlighter. I do have an affiliated code with JOUER. It is the Brutally Honest Beauty for 15% off. And another one that I've used a ton, and I think even just in my swatch, first of all, it is incredibly opaque, beautiful, but you can see how sleek this is. You can see how smooth and how fine it is. And that is apparent on the skin as well. It really sets on my dry textured skin beautifully. So I'm definitely holding on to that. And that is the other, like, my preference. It either needs to be more neutrally, more champagne-y, or that kind of more soft gold. I don't want a fiery yellow, like golden gold, if that makes any sense. So this is perfect. I love it. I think I got one more finger left I can use. We got the Bobbi Brown highlighting powder in Pink Glow. This is another standout for me. I think I got this in my BoxyCharm or something like that. And I don't all the time use pink, but you can even see here, again, very smooth, but then it has the little tiny particles in it, but when it's on the skin, you don't really see that. It's another one that is incredibly high shine, but I feel like you can also diffuse it out and kind of take a less is more approach, and then it just looks like beautiful, just like wet skin. And I know the focus is kind of off here. That's kind of purposeful. I want you guys to be able to see, you know, texture and stuff like that and see if something has sparkle. I know some people do not like any sparkle whatsoever, but I love this standout, definitely keeping. Next up is my favorite powder highlighter of all time. It is the Caliray Highlight in Moonlight Beach. The packaging feels cheap as hell. I do like it. I like the ombre effect and stuff like that. But this one, oh my gosh, it is so incredibly beautiful. It is insanely smooth. This does not show or emphasize any texture whatsoever. It is the absolute perfect tone and undertone for me. It's beautiful. Staying power is there. It just looks really incredible on the skin. Definitely holding on to that one. I love it. Next up, we have a drugstore favorite. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Super Stunner Hyper Glow Highlighter. That is a mouthful, honey. And this one, it kind of reminds me, it's a little bit more kind of opaque and more textury, if you can kind of see that. A little bit more dense, if you will, than like some of the other ones that I have. But I think it's super, super beautiful. Again, you know, drugstore pricing, but it blends out really, really smooth. And that's kind of the main thing for me. Obviously, I'm looking at like tone and undertone, but it has to set smoothly on the skin. Unless it is something like my Noctilucent palette where it's going to be shimmer or glitter or have some texture to it. Like the Fenty Diamond Bomb, something like that. But I really like this. I do like to try to keep more affordable options to showcase as well, so I'll hold on to that. Next up is another favorite. It is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Glow Glide Face Architect Highlighter in Champagne Glow. And this is also really beautiful. I'm a big fan of Charlotte Tilbury's like face products. Haven't been a huge fan of like the complexion items, and then I also feel like their eyeshadows, in my opinion, are a little bit overrated. But this highlighter is insanely beautiful, very, very full, very, very high shine, but as you can see, you can keep it intense, or you can manipulate it and give it more of that kind of, again, lit from within glow. It sets beautifully on my skin, and I love the color of this. The package, I love everything about this. It's great. Next up, I have a couple from Melt Cosmetics. I have the Stargazer Highlight, and I feel like I need to kind of compare this to maybe like my Dior, and maybe even like Catrice and stuff like that, because as you can see, the texture of this, it's a little bit kind of thicker in the pan. I kind of equate it also to like, the old school ABH one, the Amrezy highlighter. I'm gonna put this in the maybe pile for now because like how many of these do I need? But as you can see, it really does smooth out like beautifully. So let me put this to the side for just a second. This one right here is a little too dark for me to be able to use as like a true highlighter. It's the True Love Never Dies, the limited edition highlighter from Nightmare Before Christmas. One of my all-time faves. I am keeping this solely for the nostalgic purposes. If you did have like medium to deep skin, or you do like a more, you know, intense highlight, I could also use this as an eyeshadow. Then I think you'd really love it. But yeah, I'm not really gonna use a pink/orange glimmery highlighter typically. Although I will say sometimes I like to do a sparkling eyeshadow and then I go in with my Noctilucent palette. Like I use that a ton and kind of match my highlight to my eyeshadow. So I will keep it around and I will use it, but not necessarily for highlighting purposes. Let me wipe my hands again. All right. Next up, we have a couple more like affordable brands. We have Catrice and we have Moira. We have the More Than a Glow highlighter from Catrice. Incredibly affordable. Love the shade of this. And I like that this one has, it's kind of that champagne-y shade, but it's got a little bit more peachiness to it. So it looks really, really stunning, especially in the summer months. Again, it's, you know, it's not like a broken record. They're the shades that I like. They all look great on my skin and don't emphasize texture. And I like that most of what I'm showing you guys, you can really sheer them out, or if you did want them to be super beaming in your face, glowing from here to outer space, they do that as well. I think I'll hold on to it. Again, I like to have some more affordable options. Next up is the Moira, the Dream Light Highlighter in Reckless Love. Love the packaging. It's really stunning. This one has, again, a little bit more thickness to it, a little bit more texture. It's a little bit more opaque. As much as I like this, I did already keep one that has like a little bit more peachiness to it. Let me get it close so you can see that. And more that kind of have that extra sparkle in them. I don't need a whole lot of those. They are not always what I reach for, so I think I can go ahead and let go of that one. Next up is the Ciate London, the Glow 2 highlighter in the shade Moondust. I really like the packaging of this as well. This one also gears a little bit more sparkly, and then it's obviously a little bit more pinky. I feel like I'm getting Benefit Cookie vibes with this. So let me just kind of see. Yeah, it's slightly deeper, but I don't feel like I need both of these. I think I like the cookie highlighter better, but this is really beautiful. As you can see, it's stunning. They look so beautiful on the skin. I think I can go ahead and let that one go too. Another one I know I can go ahead and let go, only because it came to me shattered, although I've tried to use it as much as I can possibly use it, is the Clarity Cosmetics Pressure Face and Body Highlighter. I'm not even gonna open this because it's going to go everywhere, but I will get really close for you. And this one is a little bit more richer in tone of a gold, kind of leaning a little bit more like bronzy, if you will, but it's got a lot of like that fine mica and stuff in it. Just because it's broken, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to declutter. Next up, we have the LYS Beauty, the Aim High pressed highlighter in the shade Brave or Champagne. Love the packaging. I dug my frickin' finger in it, but you can see I've used it a lot. This is another one that is a little bit more kind of thick and opaque, if you will, upon first application. And then it does smooth out beautifully. I feel like I have kept enough. And this is also one that I kind of get more use out of in spring and summer months. So for that reason, I'll go ahead and declutter. Next up, we have the Alamar Cosmetics, the High Shine Highlighter in La Arena. And again, it's more of that kind of more firm, baked type highlighter texture. Ooh, that's pretty. That's a little more yellowy though. I feel like I have something very similar in my little Dior quad. So only for that reason, I'm gonna declutter. I mean, some of these are very similar. I do not need 15 of the same thing. I'll declutter. Next up is the Jaclyn Cosmetics Mesmerized Highlighter. Love the packaging. I've always said her packaging is legitimately a 10 out of 10. It was beautiful, which, I mean, she's no longer a brand, but it is what it is. This one you can see is that little bit more kind of orangey tone, like a little bit more peachiness to it. I got something a little more peachy here. I do have my Melt. I also have a couple of like face palettes that have more peachy tones. I have a full Hourglass palette that has a more peachy tone. I think I'm gonna go ahead and declutter. It's beautiful, but I don't need it. But yeah, that's stunning. This one doesn't have, like, there's no like actual texture to this. It's that very smooth kind of glass-like finish. Love. Next up is the Hourglass Ambient Absolute Strobe Light palette. And you can see it's got 3 different variations in here. If you are somebody, and not to say you ever have to spend a shit ton of money to have good quality products, but if you are more mature, if you do have drier skin, if you have textured skin, larger pores and stuff like that, there is something, and yes, I'm using this word, there's something magical about the Hourglass powders. There's just the way that they set on specifically like more drier or textured or mature skin, larger pores, they look beautiful, you guys. Like, they're incredibly beautiful. There's an airbrushed kind of quality to these powders, so I'm definitely keeping this. And they are pricey, but anytime you see me with like actual luxury brands and stuff like that, you guys, I never pay full price for shit. I say this all the time. I always shop when there's sales, the Sephora sale. I save up throughout the year, and then holiday time I have points that I can use. Just, you don't have to, nobody needs this. Nobody needs any of this. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Next up is the Dior. This is the Dior Backstage Glow Face Palette in the colorway 002 Glitz. And I'm definitely gonna hold on to this. This one I don't get, as you can see, I don't really get a whole lot of use out of. I could use it as an eyeshadow, and it kind of reminds me of the Melt blush, but the other shades, they're incredible. As you can tell, I especially use this one. This is another kind of formula that the way that it sets on the skin, it looks so incredibly smooth and very glass-like. I do also like that this one, if you are somebody that likes, you know, the fine mica, the fine glitter in there, you're gonna like this. And if you don't and you want something super smooth, it also suits that. Really, really beautiful, long wearing as well, so gonna hold on to this too. And then last up is an old school favorite. This is the Ofra highlighter in the shade Rodeo Drive. I have not actually used this one yet because I panned all of the lights that used to be in here, and I put this one in here because I had a big refill. Beautiful, beautiful formula. I feel like, I mean, for a very long time, they were like the king of kings when it came to highlighter. You can see again here, a little bit more opaque, a little bit more of a denser type formula. Very, very high shine, very beaming, but you can also smooth them out and they look incredible on the skin. And hopefully you can kind of even see too with like the residual highlighters I have, this is a lot more opaque. So I do notice sometimes I might get a little bit of texture with their highlighters, but I like the fact that it's a little bit more intense than some of the other ones that I have. And again, very long wearing. Let me count up what we're keeping. Let me count up what we're decluttering. I will BRB. All right, we are keeping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And I did decide to go ahead and keep this one just because my Hourglass one that's more peachy is a little deep. So I feel like I could use this as a companion to that. So we are keeping 18 and we are decluttering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So keeping 18, decluttering 11. I usually like to declutter by half, but I have textured skin. I cannot emphasize that enough. And some highlighters look like trash on my skin. They emphasize my texture and I do not like them. If I find brands and formulations that work for my skin particularly, I have a hard time letting go, but I still think I did a good job. How do you guys think I did? What are your favorite highlighters? Do you prefer powders, creams, liquids? Comment down below. Let's have that conversation. I hope you'll stick around and join my beauty family and subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Thank you to my beautiful channel members. I love you. Stay happy, healthy, and safe. And of course, be your own best beautiful. Bye, beauties.